My sister-in-law sabotaged my wedding dress 1 hour before the ceremony, but when we discovered her messages planning everything with her best friend, the family kicked her out and now she lives in complete denial. I'm 28 years old. I've been married to William for 4 years now. And I need to tell this story because honestly, my blood still boils when I think about what happened on my wedding day and everything that came after. The thing is, my sister-in-law Mia basically did everything possible to ruin my life from the moment I started dating her brother. And when I say everything, I mean everything, including sabotaging my wedding dress 1 hour before the ceremony. Yes, you read that right. 1 hour before. But anyway, I guess I should start from the beginning so you understand the level of craziness I had to deal with. I met William when we were both 24 years old. We worked at the same company, different departments, and honestly, it was love at first sight. You know, the kind you only see in movies but think will never happen to you. He was incredible, handsome, funny, intelligent, and super considerate on top of that. You know, one of those men who actually listen when you talk and remember the little things you mention in passing. We started dating and everything was perfect, like genuinely perfect, until I met his family. His mom and dad were great, super welcoming. They treated me like I was already part of the family from the first day I went to dinner at their house. But Mia, his younger sister, who was like 22 years old at the time, looked at me like I had killed her dog or something. Literally. The hostility was palpable. You could feel it in the air. And there I was all confused, thinking, what the hell had I done for this girl to hate me if I had just met her? Turns out, and I discovered this like 2 weeks into dating William, Mia had a best friend named Brooke. Brooke and William had dated during college, like one of those on and off relationships that lasted about 3 years, but it was basically a disaster because they wanted completely different things in life. Brooke wanted to get married young, have kids immediately, be a housewife, all that, traditional vibe. While William wanted to focus on his career, travel, live life a little before settling down, you know what I mean? They broke up badly like 2 years before I appeared on the scene, and William had made it clear there was no going back, that they had been incompatible from the start and that it had been a mistake to try so many times. But Mia, in her two-year-old spoiled and pampered head, was convinced that her brother and her best friend were soulmates, and that eventually they were going to get back together, get married, and she was going to have her best friend as a sister-in-law forever. When I showed up and that clearly wasn't going to happen, I basically became her public enemy number one. The first months were uncomfortable but manageable. Mia would ignore me at family gatherings, make passive-aggressive comments like, "Oh, how interesting that William now dates someone so different from what he used to like." That kind of thing that's not directly offensive, but, you know, perfectly well has bad intentions. William always defended me, told Mia she was being ridiculous and immature, but she would just roll her eyes and leave. His parents tried to keep the peace, telling Mia to give me a chance, that I was a good person, but she didn't want to listen. The truth is, at that time I thought it would eventually pass, that she was young and would mature. You know, that naive optimism you have when you still believe reasonable people exist. Years went by. William and I stayed together. Our relationship got stronger and stronger. We moved in together. We got to know each other's families completely. And Mia continued with her attitude. Brooke would show up from time to time at family events because she was still Mia's best friend. And it was super awkward because you could tell she still had feelings for William. She would try to flirt with him subtly, touch his arm when talking to him, laugh exaggeratedly at his jokes. It was obvious to anyone with eyes. William completely ignored her, didn't even play along out of politeness, and I just watched thinking how pathetic all of this was. Mia, of course, facilitated every encounter between them, like, "Oh, Brooke, come sit here next to William. Oh, Brooke, tell William about your new job." It was so blatant that even his own parents felt uncomfortable. When William proposed to me after 4 years together, I was over the moon. It was perfect, romantic, exactly as I had dreamed it. We called his family to give them the news, and while his mom screamed with excitement and his dad congratulated William, Mia just said, "Oh, that's nice," and hung up. Not even a congratulations. Not an "I'm happy for you." Nothing. William was furious. Like really angry in a way I had rarely seen him, but his parents asked him to leave her alone, that it would pass. Spoiler alert, it didn't pass. We started planning the wedding, which was going to be like a year after the engagement because we wanted to do it right. You know, get the perfect venue, the perfect dress, all that stuff. William's mom, who is a sweet and peacekeeping woman by nature, asked me to please invite Mia despite everything. She said it was important for the family, that she was William's only sister, that eventually we would have to learn to get along. Basically, all the typical let's keep family peace arguments that people use when someone in the family is a terrible person. William didn't want to invite her, said she didn't deserve to be there after how she had treated us. But I, being the optimistic idiot I was, thought that maybe, just maybe, our wedding day would be enough for her to finally accept our relationship. I told William to invite her, that it would be the ultimate goodwill gesture, that if after that she continued with her attitude, then we wouldn't have to feel guilty about cutting her out of our lives. He reluctantly agreed, and we sent the invitation. To my total and complete surprise, Mia accepted. Not only did she accept, but she even called to apologize for her behavior over the past 4 years. She said she had been immature, that she had put her own wishes above her brother's happiness, that if William had chosen me, then clearly I must be someone special. A whole series of things that sounded sincere and made me completely lower my guard. She even said she wanted to get to know me better, that we could be friends, that she regretted having wasted 4 years being hostile. William was skeptical, warned me that Mia was manipulative when she wanted something, but I was so happy to finally be accepted that I ignored all the warning signs. How stupid I was. Seriously. The months leading up to the wedding, Mia was super nice. She came to dress fittings, gave opinions about the flowers, even helped me assemble the centerpieces at one of those craft workshops you do before the wedding. William's mom was delighted, said her family was finally complete, that she knew Mia just needed time. I started to feel guilty for having doubted her, thought she had really matured and everything was going to be okay. Brooke still showed up from time to time, but Mia no longer tried to get her together with William, like it seemed she had finally accepted that that relationship was dead and buried. Or so I thought. The wedding day arrived. We were getting married at a super nice hotel on the outskirts of the city, like one of those places with huge gardens and elegant ballrooms. We had spent a ton of money, but it was worth it because it was the most important day of our lives. I woke up super early, had breakfast with my mom and my bridesmaids in my hotel room. We were all excited and nervous in the good sense. The makeup artist arrived, the hairstylist arrived, everything was going according to plan. My dress was beautiful. I had spent like the equivalent of 3 months' salary on it, but it was perfect, like my dream dress, all white lace with a fitted bodice and a princess skirt, and it had been hanging in its garment bag in the hotel closet since I arrived the night before. There was like an hour left before the ceremony. I already had my makeup and hair done. I just needed to put on the dress. My bridesmaids were finishing getting ready in the bathroom when someone knocked on my room door. It was Mia, with a huge smile, carrying 2 cups of what looked like iced coffee from Starbucks. She said, "Hey, sister-in-law. I thought you could use some caffeine before the ceremony. I know you must be super nervous." I thought, oh, how sweet. I even felt touched that she had thought of me. I told her to come in, that I was just about to put on the dress. She came in, left one of the cups on the nightstand, and stood there watching me while I carefully took the dress out of the closet, still in its protective garment bag. What happened next still seems surreal when I think about it. I took the dress out of the bag and laid it out on the bed to check it one last time before putting it on. Mia came closer, supposedly to help me, with her iced coffee in hand. And then, in what seemed like slow motion but was probably 2 seconds, she tripped. The cup slipped from her hands, and the entire coffee, with ice and everything, fell directly onto the bodice of my dress. The brown liquid spread across the white lace like a bloodstain, soaking the fabric, and I just stood there in absolute shock, unable to process what had just happened. Mia started screaming, "Oh my God! Oh no! I'm so sorry! It was an accident!" But there was something in her tone that didn't sound genuine, you know? Like when someone is acting surprised but isn't really surprised. I started hyperventilating. I literally felt like I was going to faint. My hands were shaking, and all I could think was my dress. My dress is ruined. I'm getting married in less than an hour and my dress is ruined. My bridesmaids came running out of the bathroom when they heard the commotion. My mom came from her room next door. And when they saw the dress, they all froze in shock. William's mom was also at the hotel because she was going to help me put on the dress. She came running when she heard the uproar, and when she saw what had happened, her face completely changed. She looked at Mia with an expression I had never seen on her, like a mix of disappointment, fury, and sadness. and told her very calmly but with a scary voice, "Mia, get out of this room right now." Mia tried to defend herself, saying it had been an accident, that it wasn't her fault. But her mom interrupted her and said, "No, this was not an accident. I've known you since you were born, and I know when you're lying. Now leave before I say something I'll regret." Mia left the room, and her mom turned to me, hugged me, and said with a firmness I had never heard from her, "Don't worry, we're going to fix this. Your wedding is going to be perfect." She called hotel room service, explained the situation, and literally in 10 minutes we had 3 hotel employees in my room with hairdryers, towels, stain removers, everything they could find. My bridesmaids also went into crisis mode. One of them who worked in fashion started giving instructions to the employees on how to treat the lace without damaging it. They worked for a full 45 minutes, drying, cleaning, treating the stain, while I sat in a corner hugging my mom, trying not to cry and ruin my makeup. Miraculously. And when I say miraculously, it's because it really seemed like a miracle. They managed to remove the stain almost completely. There was a slight shadow if you looked very closely. But with the ceremony lighting and the distance people would be at, it was practically invisible. I put on the dress with trembling hands. My bridesmaids helped me with the buttons on the back. And when I looked at myself in the mirror, I still looked like the bride I had dreamed of being. The ceremony obviously had to be delayed like 45 minutes. The guests were confused, but nobody complained. And before leaving the room, William's mom told me, "Mia is not going to be at your wedding. I've told her to leave the hotel immediately and not dare to show up at the ceremony or reception. I hope you understand that as a mother I needed to do this." I just nodded. Honestly, I didn't know what to feel. Part of me was devastated that this had happened. Another part was furious, and another part just wanted the day to be over. I walked down the aisle on my dad's arm, saw William waiting for me at the end with teary eyes because they had told him what happened. And when I got to his side, the first thing he did was whisper to me, "I'm so sorry. We shouldn't have invited her. This is my fault." I told him no, it wasn't his fault, that we should get married and worry about Mia later. The ceremony was beautiful despite the delay. We cried, we laughed, we said our vows, and when they declared us husband and wife, and we kissed. For a moment I forgot about all the drama and just thought, this is all that matters. I'm married to the love of my life. The reception was incredible. We danced, we ate, we drank, our friends gave emotional and funny speeches, and every time someone asked why the groom's sister wasn't there, we just said she had a family emergency, and we had to leave it at that. William's parents looked devastated but tried to hide it for us. And every time I saw them, I felt a pang of guilt in my chest, because I knew this was destroying their family. William's mom approached me at some point during the night, when everyone was dancing and nobody was paying attention to us, and told me, "I want you to know that what happened today has no excuse. Mia crossed a line she shouldn't have crossed, and until she genuinely apologizes and shows she can change, she won't be welcome in my house or in our lives. I'm so sorry this happened on the most important day of your life." After the wedding, we went on our honeymoon for 2 weeks to Europe, like we needed to disconnect from everything and just enjoy being married. I turned off my cell phone for most of the trip. William did the same, and it was perfect. When we got back and I turned on my phone, I had like 50 messages from unknown numbers and social media profiles I had never seen. They all said basically the same thing: insults, telling me I was a witch for having kicked Mia out of the wedding, that I had ruined their family, that William would eventually realize his mistake and go back to Brooke. I recognized the writing style immediately. It was Mia using fake profiles to harass me. In one of the messages, she even confessed that she had spilled the coffee on purpose because she wanted to ruin my perfect day, that I deserved it for having stolen her brother and destroyed her plans to have Brooke as a sister-in-law. I called William, showed him the messages, and he was so furious that his hands were shaking as he read them. He immediately called his parents and told them everything. His dad, who is normally super calm and avoids conflicts, said, "That's it, it's over. Mia has until tomorrow to come apologize in person or we're cutting her completely out of our lives." Mia didn't apologize. Instead, she showed up at her parents' house screaming that everyone was against her, that I had manipulated William and the whole family, that she was just being loyal to Brooke, who was like her sister. Her mom, who had had enough, told her to pack her things and leave, that she wasn't going to tolerate that behavior in her house. Mia, being the dramatic person she is, started crying and screaming that if they kicked her out, she had nowhere to go. But her mom stood firm and said, "That's your problem. You should have thought about the consequences before sabotaging your brother's wedding." Mia left her parents' house and nobody heard from her for like a week. Her parents started to worry, thinking maybe she had hurt herself or something worse. But William told them that Mia always did this when she didn't get her way, that she would disappear to make everyone feel guilty, and when the attention was at its peak, she would reappear like nothing happened. I decided to take matters into my own hands because I was fed up with the whole situation. I had Mia's real phone number saved. I called her, and when she answered, I let out everything I had been holding back for 4 years. I told her she was manipulative, that her obsession with Brooke and William was pathetic, that Brooke clearly didn't matter that much to William if he had chosen to spend the rest of his life with me, that they were both losers who needed to move on with their lives. It was harsh, probably harsher than necessary, but I felt immense satisfaction finally saying everything to her face. Mia hung up crying, and that same day her aunt, her mom's sister, called William's parents saying that Mia had shown up at her door, saying she had been kicked out of home for no reason, that everyone hated her unfairly, that I needed a place to stay. The aunt, not knowing the whole story, let her stay with her. William's parents went to the aunt's house to explain what had really happened, showed her the harassing messages, told her about the dress sabotage, and the aunt got furious. Turns out Mia had done this same thing several times since high school, disappearing when something didn't go her way to manipulate people into feeling sorry for her. The aunt told Mia to leave immediately, that she wasn't going to be an accomplice to her manipulations. Mia ended up staying with Brooke, which makes sense because they were two of a kind. Brooke started sending me messages too, saying I was a bad person for having done that to my sister-in-law, that Mia was just being a good friend by defending her, that William would eventually realize we were made for each other. I responded only once, telling her that if she really believed that, then she was more pathetic than I thought, and that if she didn't stop harassing me, I was going to call the police. I blocked her number after that, but William told me she had contacted him too, trying to convince him he had made a mistake marrying me. He blocked her immediately without even responding. William's parents were devastated. His mom would tell me every time I saw her how sorry she was, that she never thought her daughter would be capable of something like that she was ashamed. I would tell her it wasn't her fault, that Mia was an adult responsible for her own actions, but you could tell she was suffering a lot. William's dad barely talked about it, just said that Mia needed to grow up and face the consequences of her actions, and that until she did, there was nothing more to discuss. Like 2 weeks after Mia went to live with Brooke, we got a call from Brooke saying that Mia had disappeared again and she was worried. William, who already knew this pattern, told her very calmly that if she was so worried to report Mia as missing to the police, and Brooke was quiet for a moment and then hung up. It was clearly another manipulation from Mia. 2 days later, Mia showed up at her parents' house door, crying, saying she had been reflecting on everything and realized she had acted badly, but that everyone should apologize to her too for having treated her so harshly. Her dad, who was alone at home when she arrived, told her no, that they had nothing to apologize for, that she had intentionally sabotaged her brother's wedding and then harassed his wife for weeks, and that until she took full responsibility for her actions, she wasn't welcome. Mia started screaming, saying it was unfair, that she had just been being loyal to her friend, that she didn't understand why everyone was on my side. William's dad asked her to leave. She refused, and he ended up calling the police to escort her off the property. Mia left screaming that everyone was going to miss her when she was gone. When we came back from our honeymoon completely, like already settled, into our new routine as a married couple, I received an email from Mia. It was long, like 3 pages, explaining that she had had time to think and realize that what she did was wrong, but that she wanted us to understand her perspective. She said that Brooke had been her best friend since they were girls, that when William and Brooke broke up, she was caught in the middle, that she had fantasized for years about having Brooke as an official sister-in-law and forming a family together, that when I arrived, all those dreams crumbled. She admitted that spilling the coffee on my dress was intentional, that she wanted to ruin my perfect day because she was jealous and resentful, but that now she realized it had been cruel and immature. She ended by saying she hoped that someday we could forgive her, but that she understood if we didn't want to have contact for a while. William read the email and said it sounded sincere, but he didn't trust her yet, that we needed time and space before even considering letting her back into our lives. I agreed. We responded telling her we appreciated the apology, but that the damage she had caused wasn't going to be repaired overnight, that we needed her to show with actions, not words, that she had really changed. We didn't receive a response after that. It's been 4 years since the wedding. Mia and I have no direct contact. She has tried to reach out to William on a few occasions, occasional messages on birthdays or holidays, but he keeps responses short and never tells her details about our life. William's parents have a limited relationship with her. Basically, they only see each other at Christmas and Thanksgiving, and those gatherings are tense and uncomfortable. Mia still lives with Brooke, from what I've been told, and as far as I know, they're still best friends in their denial bubble where they probably fantasize that William and I will get divorced someday. It's not going to happen, in case you were wondering. William and I are happy. We have a beautiful life together, good jobs, a house we love, plans for the future. When I think about everything that happened on my wedding day, I no longer feel the rage I felt before. Rather, I feel sorry for Mia because she wasted years of her life clinging to a fantasy that was never going to come true, and in the process destroyed her relationship with her family. William's mom sometimes cries when talking about Mia, saying she wishes things were different. And I understand that mother's pain, but I also know that Mia had every opportunity in the world to change and chose not to. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if we had never invited her to the wedding. Maybe the family relationship would be just as broken, but I wouldn't have the memory of my ruined dress and those 45 minutes of absolute panic. But I also think it was good that she showed her true colors that day, because now there's no doubt about who Mia really is and what she's capable of when she doesn't get her way. Her parents finally saw what William had been trying to tell them for years, that their daughter had a serious manipulation and control problem that she needed to face. I don't know if Mia will ever really change, and we can have some kind of cordial relationship. Honestly, I don't care as much as I used to. I have my life, my husband, my happiness, and that's enough. She can stay in her world with Brooke fantasizing about what could have been. We're living our reality, and it's better than I ever imagined.